ReneMarie Telethon. I'm ReneMarie. And just do me a favor and make sure you face that way.
Yes, facing
because
this
the
way.
cameras are here.
Okay.
Okay? So I just wanted to make sure we saw her beautiful face, our wonderful partner and expert in the field, the caregiving field. We're really privileged. But let's start from the beginning. Welcome to ReneMarie Telethon. I'm ReneMarie, and welcome to our Facebook world. Hi, Facebook world.
Hi, Facebook.
Hello. Hi. This is our second show on Facebook today. We're so honored and privileged to once again have the opportunity to broadcast live on Facebook, and we're videoing it for our internet website, ReneMarieTelethon.tv.com. It's been an awesome day. We're in Commerce. Where are we? We're in
Comac.
I don't know where I am. I just travel and go with the flow, and God guides me. And that's what this show is about. It's really an important show. A while ago, Judy and I were just together, I think, and we just said, we got to do a show on faith and recovery, because faith is really a huge part of recovery. And we thought to ourselves, who better to do it with than our dear friend and partner and expert caregiver and early God-loving friend, Anne. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for asking me to be here and for not telling me that I was going to be on Facebook Live. All right. Way to go.
Surprise!
And they locked the doors, so I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. So.
We were saying to her before she was going to the car, and we said, no, get her, grab her, don't let her go, like the runaway bride.
They made me leave my pocketbook, so yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
So, God, we honestly didn't even draw an outline for this. I mean, of course I did publication for it, but this is something that is just inbred to us, all of us. We all have great faith and really try to use that in our everyday lives. And Anne is really an astounding individual. She just wrote a book, When God Nods, and it really is the basis to what we're talking about here today. So let's have Anne tell us a little bit about the book.
Okay, absolutely, yes. When God Nods, Inspirational Tales of Divine Serendipity. A few years ago, I had walked into a church and just said, God, I made a mess. I've really made a mess. I'm here. Do with me what you want. And I picture God as somebody who has a sense of humor and who is very light and humorous, and he just rolled up his sleeves and said, okay, boys, angels, let's go. We got work to do. Let's get her done.
And he does have a sense of humor, especially with me.
Yeah. You know what? I picture him sometimes going, oh, she didn't just do that again. Oh, my goodness. Oh, she's not listening. So if I can't talk to her this way, I'll get to her this way. So what had begun to happen was that everything that happened to me was supposed to happen in the form of coincidences and serendipities. The person that I was supposed to meet, whether they were supposed to hurt me or to help me, was somebody that I needed to meet for either a lesson or a blessing. And as I went about my journey, I began meeting other people who had experiences that can only come from God. And I began talking to them, and I thought, what a great idea for a book. So I began interviewing other people on their perceptions and their stories about how God nodded at them in the worst and darkest times in their life. And they chose faith, and when they chose faith, they stood up, they stepped up, and God showed up. So.
Now, in our last show, tell them how Anne came into our lives, because that's a serendipity type of thing.
On the show.
On our Stroke of Luck Internet.
On our Stroke of Luck Internet TV show. Near the end, Renee turns to me and she says, Judy, on August 20th, why don't you host a show on caregivers? Mm-hmm. Because I'll be having a knee operation on that day, and you could work along with Nancy. She'll be the co-host. And I'm going, okay.
And I love it because she didn't say no. What are you, crazy? She's like, okay, like, it actually. And I knew, nothing can, phase Judy. She can do anything.
Well, maybe Judy is used to Renee's surprises, unlike me today, not knowing that I was going to be on Facebook Live. But
so I'm thinking about it as I'm driving home. And I said, when I got home, I said, I'm going to relax. I'm going to read my mail, and then I'll read the newspaper, and then I'll decide what I'm going to do about this caregiver. I mean, I've been a caregiver, but I'm not going to do a whole show about my caregiving.
Right.
Have to find somebody. So I I read the mail, I'm looking in my newspaper, and I went, oh my God.
Exactly. Oh my God.
Oh my God. There it is.
There it is.
Maureen Rossi wrote a story about your book,
Joyful Journaling for the Caregiver
Journaling
Spirit.
of the Caregiver Spirit.
Right.
And it was a whole page with your photo. And I was so excited. The only problem was I had to wait till Monday to call Maureen Rossi. And I called her right away.
You found her?
I found her
You
right
found
away.
her.
I also had her email address in case but I wanted to talk to her. And she said, no problem, and she gave me her information. And then we booked the show.
Yes.
I interviewed you.
Mm-hmm.
And then
We met in the
along,
diner that day, remember?
yes,
for
we met in
coffee. Yes.
we met in this really cute diner.
And that's all serendipity, right?
Absolutely.
That's all a part of
That was all intended.
the journey. And then, Ann, tell them about how you were supposed to do that show and what happened.
Yes, oh my goodness. So I'm all nervous and I show up to the studio and poor Judy's trying to get in touch with me. She's trying to text me, but I had my phone off because I figured I'm walking into a studio, let me just shut my phone off, you know? And I'm not home, I'm not in front of my computer. And she's trying to get in touch with me to tell me that the show is not going to happen. So there I am, all dressed up and all nervous and all ready to go. The power went out in the studio. God had other plans. God did not want me doing that show that particular day without ReneMarie. He wanted us to be there doing the show together, and that's what happened afterwards. So
Yes.
yeah, it was very
And
interesting.
then we rescheduled.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So the power went out. I mean, that's
Yeah.
pretty powerful.
Yes, yes.
Being without power is
Power
pretty
went out,
powerful.
the doors were locked, you know.
And I was
Yeah.
I was just leaving the house. I was actually locking the door, and I go, I hear the phone. Maybe it's important, and I open the door and I run to the phone, and it's Tommy telling me that forget about the show because we lost electricity.
Did that ever happen in the history?
Never.
Ah, see?
See?
I'm
See?
going, you're kidding. I'm going, I could reach everybody, but I can't reach Ann.
There I was sitting in the parlor, and I see this little sign. I finally get in touch with her, and there's a sign on the door. I'm like, okay. it's all
And
good.
and the blessing was that Ann and I met, and then she asked if I would give my story for her
Her
book.
book? Yeah, the book.
Her book.
Yeah, her
And
book.
I gotta, before we go any further, I really want to thank you for the words that you wrote for my life coaching. It really is divine. You're the way that you structure things, it's so loving and so freeing, and just, it really is a gift. I mean, I could write, you know, my story and all that kind of stuff, but you just have a flair about your writing ability
thank you
that's
so
just,
much.
it really does come through God.
It does.
to-
You know, I have to tell you, I have to share with you and everybody else.
And Facebook Live.
On Facebook Live, I had been avoiding copywriting for the longest time because the story in my head was that copywriting was this little sales guy with like slick back and a pinky ring, you know, and it was salesy and it was awful and all these other things. And ReneMarie had given me the opportunity that week to write for her, you know, and write for her sponsorship and, you know, her sponsorship letter for her stroke foundation. And I had taken a class in copywriting, and it had come to me that if I'm helping people, if I'm helping a cause, there's nothing salesy about that because that comes from my heart. Everything
Right.
and anything I
Right.
do
That's
comes
true.
from helping people. That's my foundation. That's who I am intrinsically.
Right.
And I had such a beautiful breakthrough because after I had taken the class, I had closed my eyes and I truly feel that I saw an angel and she was blessing me.
Wow.
And this angel was so plain and so simple, but so gloriously beautiful that I could see her and I could feel her, and she was blessing me. And that week, Renee had asked me to write for her, and I thank you because it's the beginning of something new for me. It's part of my calling. It's the next step
Right.
and the next stone in the journey.
Right.
In my pathways to take that on, you know,
Right.
to write for causes and cause organizations. So thank you for the
Oh, you're
opportunity
welcome.
and helping that all come up for me.
You're
So
welcome.
I appreciate that.
You know, so how do you think that God and recovery, since you're a caregiver, how would you put them together? I mean, how would you, you know, it's inbred in us. You know, we just know. We just have faith. I
Right.
mean, we just kind of, but those that are looking for answers and looking for,
Yes.
and honestly, I want to make sure that everybody understands that we're not promoting our faith. We're not promoting our God. We're not promoting, you know, to be of Catholic, of a Jewish, of Protestant. We don't. that's not what we're
It's
about.
not what it's about.
It's what we're about.
Yeah.
What we're promoting is having faith in God or whatever God calls you,
Right.
to be able to reach out to the unknown, because when you get sick, you're scared. You're
Definitely.
scared. You're scared, and you don't know what's the next step, and it kind of awakens you
Absolutely.
to the reality that life is a gift.
Mhm.
So how would you explain that to somebody, since you're so
Well,
graceful in
here's-
your words?
Thank
And
you.
I'm sorry I keep getting up, but I'm just taking care of the technical side, which I keep seeing things fall, so pardon me while they talk. Go ahead.
So here's the beauty in that question, is that when I was going through my personal experiences, whether they were financial, relationship, health experiences, when you're going through that, the question that you ask is, why, God, why? This is what we say to ourselves when we're going through our trials. Now, in retrospect is an amazing tool. I get to look over my shoulder and say, thank you, God, thank you. Because my trials have now become my testimonies, because in the deepest and darkest moments of my life, and I've had quite a few.
I was just going to say that we have both, and Judy as well, have experienced some
stuff.
really traumatic stuff.
Yeah.
Really traumatic
Yeah,
stuff.
some stuff.
Like everyone.
Yeah.
Like everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone has a story.
Mhm.
Everyone, it's really scary. So
Yes, and the beauty in that is that you get to have these experiences, these life experiences. You get to learn the blessings, learn the lessons, and uncover the blessings, and you get to use your trials as your testimony. What's more beautiful than that? And then we all get the opportunity to be the light for somebody else. So for somebody who
Definitely.
doesn't have faith, I can tell you, for me personally, when I was going through trauma, I would just, like on the floor, on my knees with my nails, digging into my carpet. Dear God, I choose faith. I choose faith. I don't understand, but I choose faith. God has always sent me an angel in the form of a connection, a friend, a stranger, an experience, by choosing faith. And it's all a matter of perception, your mindset. If you choose to believe in something else that's bigger than you, if you choose humility,
but
and
you
being
know,
humble.
I'm being the advocate, okay,
Mhm.
because I've been to both sides. I know what I know what it's like. So you're saying if you choose, but the truth is, when I've been in those places that are so deep that I was lost,
Mhm.
I didn't know that I could choose. You know,
Right.
like I didn't understand that I could choose. You know, so that's really something really important to. I think that people who are around you need to have compassion, and how, if you came to me and I was, in that dark place, and you have experienced it, how would you care for me? What would you say to me?
Part of the caring for you would be in listening. Absolutely, just in listening, because people don't always, when they're dark and when they're down, they don't always want advice. They're not in that space to
That's
receive
right.
that. So just in the listening, what is it that you want to say? What is it that you want to share? You can say it to me, no matter how deep, how dark,
Right.
how awful you may think it is.
Right.
Just in the listening and really,
Right.
really
Listening, just
to the
hearing,
person.
yes,
Just
yes.
really listening
Yes,
to them
yeah.
is one of the ways.
Yeah, and I've actually learned one of the techniques in listening is to repeat what has been said to you, so that they actually
That's a
hear
good idea,
this.
so they know that
You're listening.
heard.
That's a coaching technique
Yeah,
that
yeah,
works
yeah,
beautifully, and especially for people who, have suffered stroke and aphasia,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
people that are going through hard times, absolutely. Because people want to be heard. All we
Yes.
want as human beings is to be heard
And loved.
understood and loved. That's the key component, especially for people who are going through trauma. We
Yeah.
want to be understood, heard, and listened to.
Yeah, it's so hard because, I sit here and I put myself back in that trauma place, and I guess God allows me to keep going back there, not in a negative vein, but just in an awareness vein, so that I could always remember how
Help
it
others.
feels. God, life is so a blessing, it's an actual gift, and those of us don't reverence the gift, and those don't honor the possibility. I was just talking to the girl that was here before. And I was saying to her, I said, we touch the world with our words, and we have to be respectful in our information that we're providing for everybody, because we are touching each individual person that's out there. So, you may be hooking on or clicking on now, and you're listening to us, and we may be saying something that could impact your life.
It could resonate. It could absolutely resonate with somebody else.
Yeah.
And that place where you go back to could possibly be a reminder of being empathetic.
Yes.
It keeps you grounded in the empathy, it keeps you humble, and it keeps you relatable to the person that you're caring for or trying to help. So absolutely.
Yeah. So it's so important. Judy, how do you feel about what we're talking about God and faith?
Well, when my dad had the stroke, the massive stroke, I was praying to God that he would live, that I would give me wisdom what to do next. And I didn't like what the doctor was saying at all. He was so negative, and the neurologist, he was so negative. He was negative from the moment I said hello to him. And I went to the phone and I called the regular doctor and I said, I want him fired. I want him fired. I want someone who I can converse with that is not so hopeless.
Yeah.
He was
really important.
He was indicating that any minute my father was going to die, and I didn't want to hear that. And he wouldn't go over the X-rays or anything. He was just so negative. In fact, I was on the information line when I was trying to find out who the doctor was, and a gentleman shoved me off the line and said, "Do I have any messages?" Well, the woman you just shoved off the line is the patient is your newest patient's daughter.
Wow.
So it didn't get off to a good start. I got another doctor, I listened to what he said, and I decided to put in a feeding tube.
Oh, wow.
Because I didn't understand everything. I thought a feeding tube could be removed, but you need a court order to remove it. But I also understood that he couldn't swallow.
So why didn't you
And I didn't want
to
him to
receive
die.
it? Or were you the...
Because it was the only thing that would keep him going, and I wanted to keep him going. And I had a lot of negativity about not doing it. My husband was very strong about it. He said, let's get the feeding tube in, forget what everybody else is saying.
Yeah.
And my dad retained his memory and everything. He had 3 more years, 3 years
Wow.
and 3 months additional
Wow.
because of
How
what I
powerful is
did.
that?
And I asked him near the end, I said, Dad, do you think I was selfish in putting in this feeding tube? And he said, no, Judy, what you did, I really appreciate. You gave me more life.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I was able to talk to him. I actually videotaped him doing a memory log of what happened years ago, and so I have a memory of different things, that how he met my mom, all different stories on tape, on videotape.
I have found that in my recovery that I'm writing, one of the books I'm writing is to get out of my own way, because my thought patterns was preventing my recovery. I was getting in my own way, because I know I needed to just be still, to really breathe deep, to really trust in God, that things will evolve the way that He wants them to evolve. Because honestly, we're gifted with control of our lives only to the point that we can better our lives.
Right.
we could do the
can make
best.
choices.
We can make choices.
Choose our mindsets and things like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it's really God who has the power to whisk it away from us in one split second, and that's so scary. That's why I always try to do the right thing, and always really, no matter who thinks we're doing what, it's really important to always do the right thing.
Right.
I spoke to God a lot during
Did
that
you?
period of time.
Did you?
Yes.
I think it's in the conversations with God too. It's in the constant communication with Him. I wake up in the morning and I talk to Him. In the middle of the day, I'm thinking about Him. At night, I pray to Him. It's a relationship.
Right.
So I'm constantly in relationship with God. Whether I'm angry at Him, because just like you have a husband,
or a wife too.
you get angry. I get angry at God. I'm like, really?
Yes.
You don't give me this, and I'm not
Yeah,
doing
we're
that.
talking about
I
that.
never got angry at God.
He looks at his watch and he's like, all right, when she's she's done with her tantrum, then we'll pick up where we left off. He's laughing at me, or he's waiting around for me to come and listen to him. But in the communication, I remember an experience that I had to have a surgical procedure, and the day before, my daughter had an allergic reaction to something, and there we were in emergency clinic, and she fainted in my arms. They had the EpiPen, and the next day I had to go for this procedure, and I'm like, I woke up at 5 o'clock the next morning. I'm not going because I'm a single mom. That's it. We're done here, God. I'm not going. And I sat there on my bed at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I tell you, I heard him say to me, do you really think I would let anything happen to you? And I felt myself anchored. I felt an anchor up to him, and I chose a new possibility of trust. I trusted God in that moment. I said, no, I trust you. Nothing's going to happen to me, and nothing's going to happen to her. It's going to be fine. And, here we are. It is, and it was fine. But it's in those conversations.
Trust is a really important tool in life. You got to, but trust is earned, and not just trust anyone. But with God, God's always there for us.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to accept and really love and really accept and trust that He will guide us in the right direction. And sometimes it's not the direction that we want to go in.
Absolutely, yes. I've had a lot of experiences that were unpleasant and uncomfortable, but I would not trade them for anything in the world. When I was going through them, it was a different story. I was like,
Yes.
Really? Like, I don't want to experience this again? Like, I kept repeating the same patterns over and over and over again. And God was going to keep putting those things in my way until I got the message, and I said, okay, now it's on me. Now I need to take responsibility for my life, my actions, my choices, my thoughts, and God will partner with me. He will absolutely, come and walk alongside me and hold my hand and guide me. And whether you go left or you go right, the destination is still the same.
Yes.
Right.
It's up to
Right.
you how quickly you're going to get the message and how quickly you're going to,
But sometimes
get there.
you have to go to the left, which isn't the right choice, just so you can experience what you have to experience in
Yeah, well,
life.
really, there is no right or wrong, because in the end, it all works out. God is going to orchestrate it no matter what, for your good, for your highest good, as long as you believe, as long as you trust.
Right.
As long as you have that relationship, and as long as you can get to represent Him. I mean, look at these two beautiful women here, and I'll include myself as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
We get to represent God. And I want to make something really clear to people, is that when you hear God, I don't want people to run under the table and hide and think that He's a punitive God, or that there's some kind of religion that you have to sit, stand, kneel, and
No.
pray. You have to do these things in order to be loved by God. The same way that you love your kid, even when it's 2 o'clock in your morning and you're getting that phone call like, you did what? Like, you're where?
Yeah.
Like, you still love your kid. You may
Right.
be angry or disappointed
Right.
or upset
Right.
or frustrated. God is unconditional love. God is the source of love. He's the energy of love. And even, I just lost my mother recently.
Yeah.
And
How long has it been?
It's July she passed away, so it's not even a year.
Oh.
She lived with me, and I was her caregiver, and that's where this book came from. But I tell my teenage
This book
daughter,
or the caregiver
the caregiver's book,
Which
Joyful
we'll talk
Journaling.
about in a little bit.
Yeah, I tell my teenage daughter all the time, Grandma's not gone. She may have changed form, but she's the essence of love, and God is love. So Grandma is love. She's still there. She's with you. Talk to her. I write to my mother.
Yeah.
I write to her. And
I go to the
it's just a
cemetery
different
and
energy.
I talk to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had a person standing behind me I didn't know about, and I was just giving out my thoughts. And I turned around, and this woman said, "Who are you talking to?"
Really?
I said, "I was
And what
just
did you respond?
my parents."
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I was just
and that's a
sharing.
gift because you
I
honor,
felt
you
better.
honor them.
I mean, I could talk about things that are happening, and I felt that I just felt a good feeling that I got it out of my system. That Dad, I'm walking in your footsteps. You were doing this and that, and now I'm doing it, and I'm doing it in your honor, and I'm doing it.
That's so beautiful. And there must have been an inner peace in there for you,
Yes,
right?
I drove away feeling better, and I was, every once in a while I have to go there
Right.
because I don't feel better until I stand there and relate a little.
Right. Well, it's true.
I mean, I don't have to be there to do it, but
Our life is so valuable, every single second, and we have to just be still and understand and appreciate everything we have.
I have a short, funny story, kind of. My dad was paralyzed on the left side and everything. My dad was a Rotarian for 48 years.
Wow.
And it was around Christmas, and he always did a food drive. He always stood with the bell, and he informed me that he was going to do that, and he hadn't gotten the assignment, and he wanted me to call the lady's name was Ann, by the way, and talk to her about it. And I said, I'll do it tonight. And he goes, now. And so I called her. Now she's totally unaware, and I'm saying, Ann, my dad wants to stand in front of Pathmark and ring the bell and collect food. She goes, what? Thought he's paralyzed. I said, yes. He'd like me to rent a van and take him there, and he would like to do it for a 2-hour period. And it was freezing cold. She goes, is he making you make this phone call? I said, yes, would you like to talk to him about it? And she told him that, it was really he did it every year. It was one of the things he did. And she got on and she said, listen, Saul, I didn't realize that you wanted to do it this year. I knew you weren't feeling well. So I'll tell you what, I'll put you in for next year. We overbooked it, and I really apologize.
Oh.
And then he was okay, but he said,
he
do
wanted
it
to do it.
now.
He wanted
God
to.
bless him. That's wonderful.
That's awesome. But the woman on the other end was very gracious in how
Yeah.
she handled
She was shocked.
letting him out.
She was shocked.
You know what I'm saying? Like, she didn't say, no, you're sick. She said, oh, I overbooked.
Yes.
That's compassion to understand that someone.
Because he did it
Yes.
every single year. And she goes, what?
Wow.
And I kept talking like it was a normal conversation that, I
That's-
can't let him know that the other side of the conversation isn't going well.
Wow.
Well, that was very graceful. That
Yes.
on all ends.
Yes.
On all ends.
I mean,
Very good.
faith in recovery is just.
I gave him faith and I gave him hope, and I told him he was going to
You
get
did.
better. And at one point, about a year or 2 years down the road, he goes, let me see now. This has got to be about a year or two since this happened. When am I getting better? I said, shortly.
Because you brought him hope.
He goes, I don't know. I said, what you have is a stroke, but you're going to get better. You just have to have more faith. I believe you're going to get better. God's going to make you better. It's just taking a little longer. That's all.
That's
Wow.
beautiful.
So you wrote When God Nods, but your first book was the Inspiring Caregiver.
I won a publishing package for When God Nods, and I was in the process of it, and then another coincidence, a serendipity, I met a woman who was doing a caregivers support group, who said, if you have something to offer them, and I was like, a book. And then I stopped writing this temporarily, and then I wrote Joyful Journaling for the Caregiver Spirit, and it's a great way to talk about the emotions that caregivers experience, like fear, anger, and guilt. Guilt is a really big one, especially
Right.
when we have to make those painful decisions for our parents.
Oh, yes.
And how to take that energy and recreate it into positive, inspired actions. How to journal from like one word, then turn it into a paragraph, then turn it into a sentence, and then to recreate it into something that will work for you personally as a benefit to yourself and as a contribution to the person that you're caring for. So journaling has saved my soul many times in the middle of the night
I
when
wish
there's
I had
nobody
thought
to
of
talk
that,
to.
but I never did that.
You journal it out, and it's like a detox. It takes
Right,
those
right,
feelings and those emotions
right,
out of
right.
your body, and it puts it into something
Because I
on
always
paper.
thought about those feelings, and I always wished I could have had some kind of help,
Mhm.
but I never had the time, and I never had anyone I could really.
And that's another thing that I tell my caregivers. We all tell ourselves little lies, like I'm not good enough, or I can't, or I won't, or I don't have time.
Why them? Why not me? That's.
And I also tried to form a group of caregivers from the nursing home that he was in. Everybody said they didn't have time, they didn't want to discuss it, it was bad enough that they were.
Well, here's the thing.
Experiencing
You can
it.
make time to journal, to meditate, to pray, to be part of a community,
That would have been
to get
very
support,
healing.
to do,
That's so
all these
important.
modalities.
That's
or
so important.
you can make time to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Because part of my caregiving experience when I came out the other end, before I knew what I know now, was digestive issues, adrenal fatigue, anxiety,
Yes.
depression,
Yes.
and then, unfortunately, sometimes the recommendation is medication. For me personally, and I'm not saying that anybody should or should not do anything, but
Right.
for me personally, getting more involved in the spiritual community was what helped me heal.
Right, right.
Journaling, meditating,
Right.
praying, being community, being contribution to other people, sharing things that I would never
And
say
even
anywhere else.
even just as simple as giving gratitude every day.
Gratitude practices
My
every
husband was
morning.
very supportive to me during that period of time. Very, very supportive.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. That's
Mm.
what makes a a family.
Yeah.
Is when people are supportive of each other, even if it's inconvenient for them. And I'm sure 3
I
years.
mean, he had to eat dinner like at 9 o'clock at night because I didn't get home before.
Yeah. Well, you were caring for your father. You know what? If it was one of his family, you would have done
I
the
would have
same
done the
thing
same
in,
thing.
Absolutely.
in
Sure.
return.
Sure.
So so the Caregiver book. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I wrote the book with the intention of having it ready and available for this particular caregiver support group. And then what happened next was a total surprise for me. I won an award. Today's Caregiver magazine awarded me the 2016
Wow.
Caregiver Friendly Award. And then people started asking me to come and speak, and I'm creating workshops now, creating an online coaching program for caregivers,
Right.
Caregiver Coach, and somehow I've been connecting caregivers with holistic modalities of treatment, whether it's
What's that?
yoga,
Because
or
we may
meditation.
understand it, but what is
Sure,
that?
like yoga, meditation, journaling, prayer life, community, some more support groups, essential oils, supplements, just everything.
I wish you had been around when I
And again, I just want to speak to like when caregivers say, I don't have time. Time is a man-made concept. The sun rises and the sun sets. What we do in betwixt and between is up to us and the choices that we make. You need to create a little, not you need, but I would invite anyone who's watching who's a caregiver or knows a caregiver to create time for themselves. A minute in the morning to journal something out. 60 seconds at night to do a gratitude, thank you God, today was wonderful in this regard or this
Right.
aspect. Just to change your mindset and to get into that frame of mind where you're going to take care of yourself. Because if you're taking care of somebody else, that is such a huge
It is.
burden on somebody.
It is.
And
It is.
somebody needs to be taking care of the caregivers and reminding them that, if you don't take care of yourself now, you're going to be the next in line to be
That's
taken care
right.
of. And
I
hate to
remember one of
have
the nurses
that,
saying that.
as a
Yeah.
sobering thought. But we don't walk around thinking like, okay, which nursing home am I going into?
Yeah.
What illness am I going to have?
Yeah.
We're still thinking about our food shopping list and working, the kids in school and all these, and mom and dad and, caregiving and all these things. And we're not thinking about us and taking care of ourselves holistically and spiritually.
Yes, yes. It was funny because you say, you can make time. I always remember this. I had a 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Tamboro. She said it was the new year, and she said we had like 5 minutes left in the class. She says she finished her lecture and she said, "Okay, everyone, stop and start doing your homework." And we're like,
5 minutes.
5 minutes left. She's like, we're like, by the time we get it out, she said, listen, she goes, just try it. And I did, because I'm like, you challenge me, I'm like, okay, I'll do it, and I got so much accomplished in that 5 minutes that I said to myself, I'm never going to say again, I don't have time. I'm just going to
Do it.
focus, do it, because by us saying that we don't have time and worrying about it and wasting time, we could accomplish so much within
That's right.
that time.
That's perfect.
Yes,
I love that
yes.
example.
So I just
Does she
like,
know that? Is she still with us? Does she know?
No, I never. But it's
Never
funny.
got a chance to
Never
go
got
back.
a chance to. But like she's a teacher. I mean, But she actually passed away a while ago. But it's funny. But in a community I work at, her son moved in,
Oh.
and I always tell him. I said, your mom, and she lived around the corner.
Beautiful.
But I always.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of telling her by telling him.
You
and,
see the coincidences
Oh,
and
yes,
the serendipity?
yes,
Oh,
yes.
The message is still getting
Yes,
through, even
yes,
though
that's
that's
so
beautiful.
Yes,
I love
yes,
when that happens.
I always tell people that's one of the things that don't just do it, just do
Right.
it. Like don't
Spend less
waste
time thinking about doing it and more time doing it.
Doing
More time
it.
being rather than doing.
Yes,
That's the
and
key.
another example I had was in Steve Harrison. He is Jack Canfield's public relations. He works with Jack Canfield. He does public relations and helps people promote things. And this was what inspired me to finish my Stroke of Luck book. He actually did a webinar, which I was like, I watched it because it was free. It was online. I watched it. And he said, don't wait for your book to be perfect. He goes, because it's never going to be perfect and you're never going to get it done if you wait. So he said he gave this wonderful example about this wonderful idea they had, and they were waiting to perfect it, and they never got it off the ground. And so then someone else got it, and someone else ran with it. He said you just got to dive in. If you write a book, if there's a mistake, you put edit number 2. You write, if you want to change it again, you put publish number 3.
Where were you last year when I wrote Joyful Journaling? See this book, Joyful Journaling for the Caregiver Spirit? I pulled it from my publisher. I was like, don't you dare put that out yet. And then I made a few tweaks because, just ego mine. I made a few tweaks and I recreated it to a little softer and gentler version. And then I won the award, and she was like, see?
Yes.
That's beautiful.
So, I just like did it. I just did it. I said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. But timing is everything as well.
Yeah.
Timing is like, you have to, it's just got to be the right time. And when that right time is.
And what I love about Renee is when that show canceled because the power was out, she's like, God wants somebody to hear your message who's not available today. I was like, okay, maybe they're at the dentist. Okay, we'll
they weren't ready yet, so it's good.
And I was going, put a sign on the door, put a sign on the door.
Oh my gosh, it's funny. But Anne is now a partner with ReneMarie's Language of Love. She's one of our caregiver experts, and we always lead everybody to her books and to her just for her advice. And it's important. Teamwork is so important in life, and I believe that God wants us to all work together to be friends and to love each other and just to respect each other and to really do the work. I mean, what would we do without each other?
Yeah, there's a saying that says, many are called, few are chosen. But people that are willing to step up and show up are the ones who, get the job done. And, I also have a section in my book that I talk about sibling rivalry. When you come into a family meeting for your parents, there's a tendency to come in as our 4-year-old selves. And when we realize that and understand that, and we just take what's on the table, what's necessary, what does mom need, what does dad need, and just deal with the issue at hand. And then when we leave, we can be 4 years old again, I remember an experience with my mom. I had gone into the director of nursing, and I said to her, okay, it's you, it's me, nobody else. I want my mom's doctor off the case, and I want to talk about my mom's end-of-life wishes. And she was like, are you sure that you want to do this? And I said, right now, I'm not Ann the daughter, I'm Ann the facilitator. I said, when I leave here, I will go in the stairwell and I will cry my heart out, which is what I did. But right now, I need to have my business suit on. I need to be CEO of my mom's case.
Yeah.
And, we made the decisions. We had the conversation. We compared, contrasted notes. We did what Mom asked us to do. And I left, and I lost it. And I really lost my cool, and I broke down, and I cried. And I called her up the next day, and I said, did I just kill my mother, like by not proceeding with any medical intervention? And she had such a beautiful insight for me. She said, no, you honored her. And that was the shift for me. That was the shift for me, in the ability to help other people, that when you get to that point, you have to make those decisions, and that guilt comes in. That guilt is useless because you are honoring your person and their wishes.
Yeah, I remember being in that spot, too.
So it's just a different perception.
Yeah. Yeah, we also have to switch the perception on recovery as well. Recovery is really a balance, and a compass of everybody working together, the doctors, the holistic, the massage, the meditation, the therapist, God. It really is a combined joint effort that you need to be open to. I mean, once again, I keep going back to, like, how do we, as the outsider looking into someone who has been challenged with an illness, how do we love them and bring God into them and bring faith into them and give them hope? And I mean, that's, we always have to, like you said, you had to put your business suit on. You had to take your yourself out of your place, and you had to do what was right for your mother. Mm-hmm. It's almost like somebody that's recovering as well. How do we put on our loving, compassionate selves to be there for people?
I honestly think that modeling who God is really the answer to that. Compassion, love, patience. I'm going to cry.
Yeah.
Empathy. I mean, we're human beings, but we have a spiritual component to us. And you know, a lot of times you'll hear that we were made in the likeness and image of God. Well, we're not like white dudes with beards and floating around, you know.
Right.
But God lives within us, and we have the ability to tap into the divinity within. And when we get to those places that are really hard, when we look deep within ourselves, we can find God within ourselves so that we can express that outwardly and overflow that to the person
Right.
that we're caring for through love, through compassion, through understanding, through empathy, all the things, unconditional love, through all the things that God is to us, we can then get to reflect back to the person that we're caring for.
Yeah, that's so important. It's so important just to be kind to one another. I love Ellen when she says, you know, be kind to one another. Is that what she says? She says,
Sure.
yeah, let's be kind to one another. I think that's exactly what, I mean, she's a phrase that she says every day on the show. And she's been through the mill, Ellen, you know, with her challenges in life and, you know, growing up, you know, I'm drawing a blank at the proper terminology to refer to Ellen. She was gay, and she knew that, and that was an inner challenge for her because she was a comedian, and people, you know, she couldn't come out. She would say she was gay, and she was a comedian, so on the outside she had to project that she was, you know, bisexual, and she really didn't feel that way.
Yeah.
And then she came out on a show, I remember.
I think so too.
It was a show, and she came out and she said she was gay, and it just streamed, and that was the worst time and the best time of her life because
she wanted it.
I mean, it
to
was
get
like
out, so it would be a relief.
Yeah, it was a release to her. But then, you know, when she had to take all the chaos, but look where she is now.
Right.
You know, she's an example that with hope and faith and being good, and I don't really hear Ellen talk about God in general too much, but Ellen represents God. Ellen stands true to walk the walk and to really be a great person and to really do for others 24/7. She does for others. I just saw it on the on her show. She had every day she does something for somebody. But she had
I love those segments. Yeah, those are my favorite. Yeah.
She had on a school from New York. I think it was from Yonkers, New York, and it's a school that nobody was graduating. I think like 5% of the kids graduated.
Wow.
And then so they had these people on, the leaders of it on, and she said, you know, we're going to help you. And they got the support they needed, the financial support they needed, and most of those kids, I think 5% went to college. I'm so sorry, but by the time she got done, every single kid went to college.
That's
wow.
And she helped them. I just saw it on TV that 100% of that Walmart, I think it was, sponsored with Ellen. Sponsored every kid going to college.
Wow.
Over $1 million.
Oh my goodness. Wow,
That
what a
is-
contribution. What a
Right?
contribution. Yeah.
I mean, her
Yeah.
platform really led to her
Yeah.
using her platform, like we're using our platform to share with the world,
Right.
you know, have compassion with people, have love for people, be kind to one another.
And that's another thing, like whether you have a show like Ellen or whether you're sitting here like we are, you can always be a contribution to somebody.
Yes.
There's always
Yes.
some space or some way that you can be a contribution to another.
And you don't even need to do it in our venue, you know, you don't need to be public.
It could just be a smile.
You could be smile, or you could do it, you know, without an unknown. You know, a lot of people do gratitudes.
I like the song that says everything. Be humble and kind.
Yes,
Yeah.
what a great
That's
song.
a great song. Yeah.
I love that song. We're doing that song. We'll do it at the end of the show. We'll just do the refrain because I don't know the whole song. I'm learning it for the telethon.
The telethon.
Yeah, it's going to be outrageous. It's going to be outrageous. You brought another book, The Peacemakers?
The Peacemakers is a book that I was very blessed to write a chapter in. It's 21 visionary women, and they talk about their stories and their life journeys, and some of them, it's not been easy. And they tell you how they have recreated that and turned it into blessing, and just like Ellen, they've been a contribution to other people in using their spiritual gifts, and they are very talented, highly spiritual, visionary women, and their stories are incredible. So I was very lucky to have
What was
a
your
chapter in there.
how does your story go in there? I know we know your story.
My
but-
story in there is about relationships and soulmates. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
And that, you know, how I was lucky enough to meet my soulmate here. on earth, and there were a lot of lessons that I needed to learn from him, and I recreated them and turned them into blessings, and there are great tips in there about relationships, really, really good stuff. And these women are just, they're an honor and a joy, and they're highly spiritual women, and they have a lot to offer. So I would definitely recommend picking up a copy of the Peacemakers. It's you can go on my website, if I may. If I could,
Yeah, absolutely. That was the next thing I was gonna
Okay, yeah.
I was gonna lead into.
If you want to find any of my books, whether it's When God Nods, Joyful Journaling for the Caregiver's Spirit, Transformational Journaling for Mind, Body, and Spirit, or the Peacemakers, you can go to the inspiredlivingnetwork.com, and you can find all of my books there.
You did another website as well, though. It's in your life coaching website?
My life coaching website is under creation. It's called Power and Grace Life Coaching.
I love it.
I have an author's coaching program that I'm putting up on there. It's called From Mindset to Manuscript, how to get you out of your head and get that book on paper, and I will coach you and guide you on how to create your manuscript. It talks about the inner critic, the procrastinator, the perfectionist, and it gives you lots of tips and tools for actually creating a well-documented professional manuscript. I also have a relationship coaching module coming on there, a self-awareness module.
What's a
coming on
module?
there. A learning class. It's going to be like 8 classes.
Wow.
And yeah, so that's what I'm creating.
Like
so,
a segment of 8
Yeah, 8 classes. And
how do they, I'm just trying to, like,
we're
how do
creating
they-
it to show up online as an online class, but then you also have contact with me as well.
Wow.
Yeah. And there was one more. There was the the caregiving coaching module will be on there as well. So yeah, I will teach caregivers how to transcend and transform and recreate their caregiving stories and help them to take care of themselves. In many aspects.
So important.
Communication with medical people and
we're
civil
all
rivalry,
caregivers
all of
in
that.
life. We're all caregivers.
Yeah.
Whether it doesn't matter whether you're caregiving your children or you're caregiving someone who's ill or you're caregiving each other or someone who's just, down in the dumps or somebody had a hard time or, at work. I mean, you really just need to be aware and take a step back and really understand that.
And I think it's important, too, for people to know that, we are all caregivers, and while you're taking care of other people, please, please, please take care of yourself, because it's wonderful to give, but it's also perfectly fine and acceptable and wonderful and necessary to receive. And I teach people how to receive as well, how to receive. Even if somebody just holds a door open for you, focus on that, recognize it, embrace it, appreciate it. It's okay to receive. We don't have to be martyrs, and we don't have to be,
Which is something I need to work on. Honestly, because
What do you mean?
You need to work with me.
yes. No, the truth is that all my life I've been battling, trying to recover. Trying to get to that space where, I'll be okay. I mean, I've been through everything.
But I don't understand.
Well, I was going to say that to receive goodness is something you need to be aware of, because I've been so busy trying to recover and get to a certain point in my life that it's something I need to be aware of. I mean, I really am not very good at people doing things for me. I'm not good at it.
So many people are
I'm
like
not good
that.
at
I
it.
mean, I spent a lot of time just not able to receive help. And when you want to give so much, if you're not filling your cup up till it's overflowing, you've got
can't
nothing
really-
left to give.
Yeah.
Right, you can't do a good job caregiving if
Exactly. You're burnt out. You're burnt out.
I know. The other thing I was going to say about taking care of yourself. They said this on this class I'm taking in life coaching, as they said, what do they tell you in an airplane when there's emergency? Got to put on your own mask first. Got to put on your own mask first, so that you could.
Because how can you help someone else if you're
can't,
not?
You can't help someone else if you don't put on your
Right.
own
And
mask.
in caregiving, it's important to put on your own mask first. And it's also a blessing to help somebody else. There's so many different components and so many different facets of that. You take care of yourself, you take care of another, and it's all good. It's all perfect, and it's all part of God's plan.
Yeah. Judy, tell our new audience about the telethon, please. That Ann is going to be there if you want to come and meet Ann. She's going to have a table. She's going to have all her books for sale. She's going to give a little bit of advice. She's going to be a part of it. She's part of our family anyway. So,
Palm Sunday, April 9th, will be the 3rd annual ReneMarie Language of Love Telethon for Stroke and Aphasia Awareness. It will benefit the American Stroke Association and ReneMarie's Language of Love Foundation, both 501c3 organizations. We will have stroke survivors sharing their stories, caregivers, authors, motivational speakers, acupuncturists, and many entertainers. So many entertainers. You will really enjoy it. So remember, between 2 and 8 p.m., it will be at Mousetrap Cafe. Doors open at 2, so come on down and enjoy. And Anne will be there. She will be discussing her books, and you will be able to purchase it. We have a psychic that's going to be there, Teresa St. Francis.
She's a medium. She's a spiritual medium.
Yes.
She does phenomenal work, and she really is a dear friend with. So come on down.
Come on down.
Come on down. You can go to our website, www.languageoflovetelethon.org, to check out our telethon, or www.ReneMarie'sLanguageofLove.org to check out our foundation. And we're really blessed to do things together.
And I ask that you enjoy yourself, and please donate what you can.
Thank you so much. So we're going to sing a little bit of Humble and Kind, and then we're going to roll out. And how did you do on Facebook Live?
I do fine. I'm still standing. I'm still sitting. I didn't fall out the chair, so it's all good. And you're going to sing, and I'm going to watch you.
So here it goes. Hold the door, say please, say thank you. Don't steal, don't cheat, and don't lie. I know you got a mountain to climb, but always stay humble and kind. When the dream you're dreaming comes to you, when the work you put in is realized, let yourself feel the pride, but always stay humble and kind. God bless everybody.
Beautiful.
Thank you to God, and thank you to everyone for joining us today. And be kind to one another. Let's blow our kisses.
Mwah.
Living with my eyes closed, knowing day to day, I never knew the difference. I never cared either way. Looking for a reason, searching for a sign, reaching out with both hands.